Good evening, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live. Want to update you on the things that are actually taking place in Ukraine and why their Ukrainians are having so much success. And it's not because of the Azov Battalion, the neo-Nazi battalion, being so excellent trained soldiers, but it's because of U.S. and British forces are on the ground in Ukraine. The Al Arabiya News was reporting earlier that the Russians has largely ceded its gains near Kiev, and many of the withdrawing Russian soldiers have exited Ukraine, moving over the border back into Russia, a senior U.S. military official said on Monday. As it pulls back, the United States has seen anecdotal reports of Russian forces abandoning their equipment, which could be indicative of Russians' deorganized command and control, the U.S. military official said, speaking on condition of anonymity. Now, but what I wanted to show you, though, is facts that there are U.S. troops fighting on the ground. Now, the one here CNN puts out here just recently in their September 12th, 2 days ago, report shows U.S. and British forces coming in as whether it be volunteers or paid by the Ukrainian military fighting inside the country. But I'm going to give you even more hardcore facts to go with that. Also, looking at former U.S. Senator Richard Black and what he has to say, he actually confirms the information I first released to you months back that Russia didn't want this war in the first place, and it was the Azov Battalion amassing troops at the behest of NATO to take Donetsk and Luhansk region there, and Russia was forced to come to the aid of the Donetsk Luhansk people. We'll get into that in just a moment here. First, let's listen in to this report here from CNN.
Front lines, and a warning, some viewers may find parts of this report disturbing.
Margot, go, go, go! No panic, no panic! This normal.
Among the most forward troops in Ukraine's latest counter-offensive, this really is normal. When the crunch of incoming artillery is this intense,
Guys,
casualties in this reconnaissance unit, which includes 3 foreigners, are inevitable. Mark Ayres of Britain was lightly wounded on day 1 of the offensive. On day 2, he was more seriously injured in the leg by artillery alongside Michael Zaffer, a former US Marine from Kansas. He was hit in the hand, stomach, and head. They joined Ukraine's army together, but met fighting ISIS in Syria. Zaffer is the former US Marine's Kurdish code name.
I am fine, go.
As Recce troops, they've been the tip of Ukraine's attacks on its southern front in the fight to recapture Kherson.
And then I just remember looking up to my left, and then pop. And I couldn't see anything for a bit. Everything looked the same. Everything came to. Looked at my left, looked fine. Looked at my right. Okay, I'm there. I'm there. All right, to the hole.
It's going to be a slow, grinding fight, they say, whatever the claims of Ukraine's government. This counteroffensive is being billed as...
That's just to give you some of the information that CNN is putting out there about that. But the fact is, we have U.S. involvement far more than what we realize. I know that one source that I have from Washington had said to me that the CIA was using subcontractors working inside of Ukraine quite a bit. And that's been going on now for, since the war began, or not long after it began. But this clip right here, notice what he says. Victor Kovalenko put this out. Mom, I am okay. I want to show you something. Behind me is Izium city area. Oh, wow, look, this is an A-10 Warthog. Another one. Here is the Lend-Lease. This happy Ukrainian soldier video selfie is the first ever, to my memory, evidence of a U.S. A-10 Warthog in Ukraine. So who's flying those Warthogs is my question here. I'm going to share with you the clip of that.
Привіт, я в порядку. Хочу показати тобі дивовижний краєвид. Глянь, це Барвінківський плацдарм біля Ізюму, Харківська область. От в цьому місці...
dropping down low. I don't know if it'll show. It doesn't show them actually doing the attack or what they are going to do there, but we do know that to give you an idea of what the A-10 Warthog does, here's one in action there. Another video here showing what their capabilities are in training. Just one bomb like that coming off of a Warthog can do a tremendous amount of damage, as you can see right there. So yes, the tide is turning for Ukraine. And let me give you this one right here. This is English-speaking foreign soldiers. They say U.S. or British military contractor CIA firing anti-tank missiles at Russian armored vehicles in Ukraine. Well, I can tell you straight up because, well, as Americans know, we know American voices. They're definitely not British. Listen in.
Brian, you go. Towards us. Huh? It's facing towards us. Pull back.
That is definitely American voices, just like we'd heard the other night when the Russians were firing in cruise missiles at the different power stations, things like that. And you could clearly hear American voices there making the video that was released there on YouTube. And here again, another video there by AZ Military there. Listen to this
Welcome
one
to
here.
Izium. Hey boys, where the fuck are we? That's a lot of fighting if I can get here. Want to see what some Soviet shit looks like? I'll flip this up. Look at that. Looks good. Welcome to Izium.
There you have it right there. American soldiers fighting there in Izium, another city there that Russians have suffered some massive losses there. So the thing is we're seeing this happen, and you can't help but wonder. Russia has said over and over and over, if we end up having American fighters inside of Ukraine, it's going to change the way this war is going to come out. And now Russia is beginning to pull the gloves off, hitting the infrastructure, things like that. Could it end up spreading much further? That's really going to be the danger. Let's listen into this right here. This is a Polish interview of an American fighting in Ukraine.
And that is, the Ukrainians are not going to stop attacking. They are not going to negotiate. They are not going to give up Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kherson to the Russians. This war is going to go until the Russian armed forces are destroyed. You know, the old saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. That's Ukraine. Most of this team uses the special forces here on our side use the Grot rifle from Poland, which is great. They are here to loot, rape, steal, and murder. And they say that themselves. Don't believe me. Believe the Russian. Wait till the city of Mariupol is eventually liberated and we find 40,000 dead people in it. This is not a game.
All right. Now, the thing is, though, is we have been seeing over and over and over from the people like that of, gosh, can't think of his name right off the top of my head there. One of the guys we've been sharing with you quite a bit on our channel there. And we see the evidence of the Ukrainian people say it's the Ukrainians that are doing all these evil to their own people. I'm not saying that the Russians aren't guilty of some of that. No doubt they are. But I want to play this clip right here. I found it on VK. And you may have already heard about this already. This came out August the 28th, so I'm sure it's probably already made its rounds. This is former Senator Richard Black. And what he says in here is so true. And we did the video on this, and I never will forget when I did the video exposing that the U.S. and NATO were working with Ukraine, with the Azov Battalion there to make the attack on Donetsk. About 2 minutes in, Senator Black speaks about that and how that Russia did not want a war, but they didn't have much of a choice. They were offering different peace settlements even before this ever began, and it was just turned down completely. Listen in, though, to see what he says here.
How many Ukrainians die? Not civilians, not women, not children, not soldiers. We do not care. We are. It's become a great football game. We've got our team, they've got our team. Rah rah. We want to get the biggest score and run it up. And
one moment, as this thing buffers here, try to catch this without it buffering so much.
We don't care how many of our players get crippled on the playing field, as long as we win. Now, we are shipping fantastic quantities of weapons, and it's caused the stock of Raytheon, which creates missiles, and Northrop Grumman, which creates aircraft and so forth, and missiles. All of these defense industries have become tremendously bloated with tax dollars. I don't think it's ultimately going to change the outcome. I think that Russia will prevail. The Ukrainians are in a very awkward strategic position in the east. But if you look at the way that this unfolded, President Putin made a desperate effort to stop the march towards war. Back in December of 2021, he went so far as to put specific written proposals on the table with NATO, peace proposals, to defuse what was coming about. Because at this point, Ukraine was massing troops to attack the Donbas. So he was trying to head this off. He didn't want war. And NATO just blew it off, just dismissed it, never took it seriously, never went into serious negotiations. At that point, Putin, seeing that armed Ukrainians with weapons to kill Russian troops were literally on their borders, decided he had to strike first. Now you can see that this was not some pre-planned attack. This was not like Hitler's attack into Poland, where the standard rule of thumb is that you always have a 3-to-1 advantage when you are the attacker. You have to mass 3 times as many tanks and artillery and planes and men as the other side has. In fact, when Russia went in, they went in sort of with what they had, what they could cobble together on short notice, and they were outnumbered by the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian forces had about 250,000. The Russians had perhaps 160,000. So instead of having 3 times as many, they actually had fewer troops than the Ukrainians, but they were forced to attack to try to preempt the battle that was looming, where the Ukrainians had massed these forces against the Donbas. Now, the Donbas is adjacent to Russia. It is a portion of Ukraine that did.
I'll just include the rest of that in the link for you so you can see this. It's very interesting what he says there. Senator Richard Black there, and former U.S. Senator Richard Black. And this has really turned into a very bad situation, and I'm very concerned it's only going to get worse. I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Don't forget to check out our Patreon channel. And as always, if you feel on your heart to support the work we do, our address and our website, IsraeliNewsLive.org, is right above our head there in the screenshot there. Patreon, we're going to be talking about some things that have been happening that we had been telling you about for some time. A little bit late in coming about, but we're going to share some of that with you this evening. Good afternoon.